Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man. There's a question I've been pondering since awakening to EFAP's bullshit. They've always proposed this point as a standard, but as I've come to learn, do not hold this point as a standard principle. That question is, can quality in art and media be objectively measured, or can art and media be considered objectively good or bad? And if so, by what metrics is that decided? It's not as clear-cut as most people think. It comes down to two big groups of people. One group thinks that, of course, art can't be objectively measured or judged. Art is expression, and how people feel on a certain work varies from person to person. However, if that was true, we wouldn't be able to draw any consensus opinion on movie ratings and accolades, and those would be virtually meaningless. Well, they are, but for different reasons. On the other hand, there are those who say all art can be measured objectively, otherwise how would we know the good from the bad? However, if that was true, why do these people still find value in objectively bad pieces of media like Tommy Wiseau's The Room, Plan 9 from Outer Space, or those MCU Spider-Man movies? As you can see, it's quite a conundrum. The answer? It largely depends on the medium and the metrics for standards therein, but even then it's not always cut and dry. Take the world of painting for example. No one would argue the fact that the Mona Lisa, one of the final works by the Renaissance master Leonardo da Vinci, isn't a masterpiece. The attention to detail and the illusion of depth, the simplicity of the woman's expression. Many people theorized and pondered entire theses on the true meaning of such a brilliant work of art all around the world today just by looking at it. Truth is though, it was just a portrait of Lisa del Giocondo that he was never able to finish and get right just in time to present to her before his passing. But even with such a simple subject matter, Leonardo, after a lifetime of perfecting his craft and demanding perfection of himself, shows how much work and effort and all-around artistic wisdom went into this one piece that was so simple in concept, yet now is so famous around the world. It could have been any woman in that picture, but the fact it was made by the hand of Leonardo in a way that only he could is what makes it so valuable. It takes tremendous effort to produce Mona Lisa, you see, but effort isn't always what matters most. Take a more modern example of a modern artist, Jackson Pollock. He, like Leonardo, was a perfectionist in his own way. His works and name are also world famous, for a very different reason. And he put a lot of time, thought, and effort in each work he made. The thing is though, this is a work of Jackson Pollock's. Yet in spite of just being paint splatters on a wall, it's considered almost as valuable as the works of the Renaissance masters. Why is that? Well, the thing about art is its value is mostly appraised by the art critics and the artist community. The reason why Pollock's works are considered valuable and artistic is because they're seen as a statement. They're part of a movement called Abstract Expressionism, one of the first genres to spawn what we know today as modern art. What Abstract Expressionism was the defiance of cultural norms and standards expected in art. Subverting your expectations, if you will. People were told Pollock's works were high art because they were subversive, when most people just saw them as paint splatters and then moved on. It was ironically both artificial and superficial to praise the abstract expressionist movement as a defiance of the norms, when the movement itself became the norm within those communities. That isn't to say that it was all of no worth or quality. Art at the end of the day is supposed to make people happy, and in a sense of speaking, people did draw enjoyment out of the abstract expressionist works of Jackson Pollock and others. Sure, those people were mostly egotistical fart huffers, but the art served its intended purpose. On the other end of the spectrum, you got works like those of Thomas Kinkade and other so-called kitsch-style artists, an example of his works being this painting of a Christmas scene in New York City. Art critics and the art community in general hate kitsch-style art like this. They find it to be tacky, unappealing, uninspired, lowbrow, and common. And with their snoots in the air, they remember to snort. They'll have nothing to do with the plain-bellied sort. Sorry, I slept into Dr. Seuss for a second. Another example of kitsch would be this famous picture I am sure most people have seen before. A Friend in Need, 1903 by C.M. Coolidge, otherwise known as Dogs Playing Poker. The reason you probably have seen it already and have it memorized in your brain is the reason why kitsch is so unpopular among critics. Or one of them anyway. It's made to be mass reproduced for a wide audience, making it effectively commercial art. Does this make it bad art? Of course not. A lot of kitsch art is ingrained in our psyche. That doesn't change the fact that it can be mass-produced, which by definition means it was not made one of a kind by the hand of a master. And the subject matter of kitsch art is almost always simplistic, being more focused on looking good on a living room wall than being sold at auction for millions or held in the finest museum. All of this is the difference between something that everyone claims is good but isn't, something mediocre but serviceable, and something that's a fine gold standard. And of course, once in a while you'll get things that are considered bad by all parties involved. But this really doesn't clear much up, does it? Well, let me go into one more artist. I present Bob Ross. If you never watched The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross, I recommend you do, as it's not only informative but really relaxing. It's available on YouTube on the Bob Ross channel, which is owned by his foundation. Bob Ross was a landscape artist primarily, who used a wet-on-wet oil paint method to produce beautiful landscape scenes in a matter of 30 minutes. Granted, this is primarily because of the limitations on time on each episode, as well as the fact that Ross himself was a seasoned master in his craft. But it does prove a point that he firmly believed, and that point is this.
There he is. And there's no secret to this. Anybody can paint. Anybody can paint. All you need is a dream in your heart, a little practice. Look there. Already, we have the beginning of a beautiful picture. We have the tree shapes, a light source. Looks to me like it's early in the morning.
If this sounds like a familiar sentiment, hold that thought. You can expand this sentiment out to any form of art. Anyone can make music, movies, food, paintings, video games, TV shows, books, comics, and what have you. Even you watching this video right now. Even me recording this video right now. We're all capable of putting in effort to learn, to create, and to expand our talents and our horizons. And that's what art is truly about. But how can it be objectively measured? Well, it's simple really. Does it serve its purpose? And what purpose is that, you may ask? Well, that's the tricky part. It's too dependent on the work, the medium, and the context. It's in the eye of the beholder. I hate to say it, but, well, the answer is just as confusing as the question itself. Is art objective? Yes, but also no. You can objectively measure standards of which a piece of art, a book, a movie, or any form of artistic expression can be measured. Is it performed well? Does it have good structure? Good pacing? Is it worth the price of admission? But at the same time, the most common piece of consumer garbage can have just as much merit to someone as the finest gold in all the land. One man's trash is another man's treasure. To put it in another way, let me show you a clip from the ending of Ratatouille.
The following day, his review appears.
In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little, yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and themselves to our judgment. We thrive on negative criticism, which is fun to write and to read. But the bitter truth we critics must face is that in the grand scheme of things, the average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so. But there are times when a critic truly risks something, and that is in the discovery and defense of the new. The world is often unkind to new talent, new creations. The new needs friends. Last night I experienced something new. An extraordinary meal from a singularly unexpected source. To say that both the meal and its maker have challenged my preconceptions about fine cooking is a gross understatement. They have rocked me to my core. In the past, I have made no secret of my disdain for Chef Gusteau's famous motto, "Anyone can cook," but I realize only now do I truly understand what he meant. Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It is difficult to imagine more humble origins than those of the genius now cooking at Gusteau's, who is, in this critic's opinion, nothing less than the finest chef in France. I will be returning to Gusteau soon, hungry for more.
A simple fried chicken and biscuits dinner with friends at the end of the day is more enjoyable than prime rib with assholes. People are allowed to like or not like whatever they want, and that's not a problem. There's nothing objective about it. If Mueller and Rags like Star Wars Andor or the new God of War games or the MCU Spider-Man movies, that's their problem. Does it make those things objectively good? No, not really. It doesn't dismiss them as art, however. You can criticize media for any number of things. Lord knows I have my own criticisms of the things EFAP enjoy, just as they have criticisms for the things I enjoy. But to make the argument that it's all some objective metric is just fooling yourself. You cannot decide that, nor can the critics, nor can the audiences. Only the test of time will show if a work is truly a masterpiece worth remembering, or just another brick in the wall between us and the realization we're marching to the grave. Just saying objective, objective, objective all the time and acting smug doesn't help change minds and opens yourself to be judged poorly when you fail to live up to your own arbitrary standards. It was a difficult path to get here, and even then the question isn't fully answered. Heck, I had to cut a lot out of this script just because it ended up being fluff that went around in circles. But maybe we're just a little bit closer. Or heck, I could be completely wrong and lead you all into the woods somewhere. Time will tell. To close, allow me to quote the immortal Count Dankula.
Classical art draws attention to what's important. Modern art draws attention to an artist who wishes they were important.
It's been the Koopa Man. If you liked this video, leave me a thumbs up and a comment and be sure to subscribe. And until next time, game on.